So today we are going to cover the topics over here that are mentioned in the day 2. Fine, we'll start off with object-oriented programming, the objects and the object references, how they are different, the constructors available in Python, and then we'll move on with the Selenium script, that how we can open up any of the browser and can go to some URL. Fine, these things we'll be covering today. So starting off the OOPS concept. Now, why is this OOPS concept important, you must be wondering. Because what people do is just learn about Selenium script, they get to know about the commands and they just start writing. But they actually don't know what's going on behind the scenes, how these objects and object references is different from each other. So that's why it's important to cover this so that there is a basic understanding behind. Fine. So what I'm going to do is, and as you requested that we should work on PyCharm. So for today's class we'll work on Eclipse. From the next class onwards we'll start on with the PyCharm. Will that be fine? Yeah. So just to start with the object-oriented programming, I'll just will do simple thing that I'll just will make a simple class over here in my project. I'll just will make a package and inside those I'll be making the module. Let's say name it as it's Python Basics. Fine, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a simple class. Let's say it's students. Fine. Inside this I'll be having the functions name, and whenever this function will be called, the name will be passed as a parameter and it will be sent, the data will be sent when it will be called. Now what the self keyword is? The self keyword will help you to access all the members and attributes, be it a class, be it a variable, inside a class, inside the same class, you can access using the self attribute. Fine. Now, it is a possibility that if you are using a variable, you can directly say self.name. Like, I'll just will say print self.name. This is also is fine, there is no issue in this. Since my name and parameter are same, so I'll just will change the name. I'll make it student name. Fine. So this way also I can use it. There is no issue. But since I'm passing the parameter, so I'll be storing into the variable. Whatever name will be coming, that will be stored over here in this variable, and then only I'll be able to use this name. Now you can see that I'm not getting any warning now. No I, that is the variable is unused. So this self keyword is going to help you a lot. Fine. So if I'll just make one more function, let's say I'll just will make student ID. Okay. And again the same way parameter will be passed. Sorry, Raghav, your voice was little disturbing. I could not understand. Can you repeat that? What is this? No. In like in Java, we use this keyword, right? To yes, because that variable is going to help you to provide the variables from global value to the local value, right? This is something that this keyword do, I hope so. And this self is also doing the same thing. Okay. So the same way I can also access the ID attribute as well. Self.id equals to, now it's totally up to you that what name you want to give. But if you'll give the name that is already existing in the Python library, like it's a keyword, then it will give you an warning at sure that it's a used variable. That's why I have used s_id instead of just id, because id is already a keyword. So that's why I have used it. And now when I have to print it, I'll just will say id. Over here as well, it was name. Now when I have to make the object of this class, because the class is bounded into a scope, starting from this particular statement, the class is having the scope till this point, right? So I have to access this, make a object of this to access these functions and these variables. So making object is simple in Python. Just need to take the class name followed by a pair of parentheses. That's it. Your new object has been created. If you will put dot, you will get all the attributes and the functions that you have made inside the particular class. Fine. So if I'll call this s name, I can pass on any name, like I'll pass Ron. And if I run it, you can see. So which name? Yeah. To that I'm coming to that point. Just bear with me. I'm just telling you that how object is created in Python, because in Java there is some another syntax. In Python this is the syntax. The name that you are saying that we'll give to object, that is something we will make a variable and we will make it point to this object. That I am coming to. Now the same way, what people think is that if I'll do this, if I have done this, so this s is my object, which is not true. This s is not an object. This is basically a variable which is pointing to the object of student class. Here people misunderstand the concept. Now using this s only, I can call the functions, I can use the variables, I can do anything that I want, right? Like I can have the name called, the same way I can have id function called, this way. And the same way I can create a number of objects as well. Like I can create s1. Right. But if I don't do this, I have created objects like this. I have to use my id class now. So what will happen is a new object will be created, which I don't want. So basically object and object referencing are different, because a particular reference that we have created, the variable, it's going to hold the data set of a particular object. If I'll call s, it will return me Ron and 96 as per the parameters. If I'll call s1, this will return me some another set of data that I have made for the another object of the class. So here people misunderstand this concept. So this was why I have started off by making the object and then to the object referencing. Okay. Now likewise in the classes, Python also have the functionality to have constructors. Fine. Like in Java, the constructors are of the same name as of the class name, right? And there are multiple types of it. There are parameterized, copy, default, right? There may be more also. I don't remember all of them, but there are number of types. But in Python, the name of see it's the syntax is different. Like for loop, when you write for loop in Java, you look like this. I don't remember actually the syntax, but you can give off this, right? I is equals to 1, then you give some condition to check, right? This way you give. But here in for, what you do is just say for a counter variable, whichever you want, and you specify the range. Likewise, in Java, you check that I value is 1. It should run until it's less than 10 or it's more than 10. So you will give the value over here that this is the range. Inside this only my counter variable should iterate. This is the syntax of for. And for better information, you can also go through the videos of the Python basics. Over there, everything is informed in detail, every particular small information as well. Fine. The same way is while as well. You just give the range, the same you give in Java, and if else conditions are also kind of same, just syntax difference. Okay. Any other questions before starting? Okay. So as I was talking about constructors, so in Python, the constructor has a defined name already with the meaning of it defined in the Python library. And that is this double underscore init double underscore. Fine. If you'll change the name of this constructor to anything else, this will not remain the constructor anymore. It will become a normal function which you can use. Also, you can only have one constructor in a whole class. Java provides you that you can have more than one constructor in the same class, but over here only one, overloading is possible, but over here it's not possible, only one constructor is possible. Fine. Now over here the constructors are also of two types. One is the default and one is the parameterized. Now by saying this only, we can understand that the parameterized constructor will get some parameters that needs to be passed, right? And the default one will not expect any of the parameters to be passed. We'll see both of them one by one. Like over here, I'm just going for the default one right now. So I'll just will take a print statement and I'll say I am in the constructor of student class. Fine. So whenever I'll make the object of this class again, like over here I have made this S1, right? I'm commenting the first one. So now you can see that I have not called any function or any of the variable. It just has been printed from the constructor. Why? Because whenever the object is created, it looks for the constructor. If the constructor is not available, then it's fine. It will move further to the next statement and will move according to the given sequence. But in any case, the constructor is there in your class, then it will look that whether that constructor is expecting some of the parameter or not. Right now, it's not expecting any parameter. If I'll say, I want to pass a parameter. Now this is going to give me an error because while creating the object, I have not passed anything to this class to this object. You can see it gives me an error saying the constructor is missing one required positional argument. If I'll give some name over here, this will become the parameterized constructor, and that's done. See, the constructors are of two uses. First one, it is used for initializations, right? That we all know that initializations may come up. Mind my spelling, it might be wrong because it's in hurry. And the second thing that constructors are used for are the initialization of common variables. Like over here, the name is just a variable that I have taken. For example, in the student class, I am taking the name and ID. For suppose I want to note down the marks of these students in any particular subject. Now the subject will become common, right? The subject will become common. And I can use this subject variable throughout the class, even if in these functions as well, very simply. But this common variable will specify that the marks of all the students are of subject, that particular subject, right? I'll just show you, just wait. Common variable. Fine. Now I'll say whatever subject I'm getting, just print the variable. Okay, I'll do it this way. Self dot subject equals to, I'll store it into a variable. And now let's say I am passing maths over here. So it will print maths as the above statement was being printed. Right. Now suppose along with the name I want to print the subject as well. So how will I be able to do that? I'll just will say self dot subject. Okay, I have not called the class, that's why. S1 dot name it got no space, so that's why it's coming like this. But this common variable I can use anytime. I can make number of objects, but this subject will be same for all to keep the common. And this init function, this constructor is going to be helpful in these kind of initializations over here. Fine. Any doubts over at this constructor point? You may come up. Also, one thing that is to be careful about, that in the Python, it only concatenates the same data type. Fine. Like if you have a string, it will only concatenate string with that. It will not concatenate integer, float or double any another data type. So you have to make sure that if you're concatenating some of the variables that you are using and you want to print them, so just add the same variable, same data type in front, then it will help you to concatenate, otherwise it will keep on giving you the error. Fine. This is that Python is working like, and it still gives the error. Okay. Now this was about object-oriented programming, the object creation, referencing and the constructor. Now I'm moving further to the Selenium basics. Okay. In the Selenium basics, to start with, I'll just will create another package and I'll name it as Selenium basics. Fine. Now over in Selenium, whenever we have already seen this part, right? That how we can get the details and check the further description, the path and version and file, etc. We have already seen. Right. Now the topic comes that I have to open some URL. How will I be able to do that? For that, I have to use another class that's already inside the Selenium package I'll show you. The official website of Selenium says everything, and it has everything that you need, starting from the Selenium till the grid server as well. Fine. So over here in the API docs of Python, these are the common utility classes that are given over here, which we are going to use throughout, and they are very useful. Like over here, these are the Chrome options, these expected conditions. So all of them are going to be very much helpful. Fine, but right now which class we are going to use is the WebDriver class. Now this WebDriver class is a class in which there are a number of generic functions which you can fire on any browser. I mean any browser. It could be Chrome, Firefox, Edge, Internet Explorer, all of them. Fine. So over here you can see delete cookies, current URL you can check, and then I'll show you some of the easy ones. These are the functions which will help while we are extracting some elements from the web page. That we will be covering, that how to extract the elements from the web page. And this is the function. This get function is the most helpful one because it's going to help you to route to some of the URL. Whichever URL you want to go, you can just give the URL of that particular website in the parameters, and it will take you there. Fine. So if I'll just show you over here, I'll say I'll create a new module and I'll name it as let's say browser. So for that WebDriver class, I'm importing that WebDriver class that I've just shown you. That will be imported from the package itself, whose name is also WebDriver. In this class, there are different functions which are over here, which is going to help you to instance the browser. Like if I want to go to the Chrome browser, you just need to click on this Chrome. That's it. Nothing else you want to do to open a particular browser. If I'll run this, run as Python run. So it will open up a blank Chrome browser for me. Just wait, it's opening. You can see it opened it and closed immediately as the execution was over. The same way I can open Firefox browser. I can open Edge browser, .edge.ie, anyone. But to open these, there are some of the requirements that we need to have into our systems. In my system, I have already done those settings, so they are opening fine without giving any other parameter. But in your system, you have to get those requirements to open up, and those requirements are nothing but the exes which are going to be helping you to open the browser. Fine. So first of all, let's just talk about Chrome. So you'll get the details of all the browsers on the recent page of this one, on this page, on this one, where all the links are given. So over here you can see that there is a block of drivers. This drivers block says everything that what you need. I'll come to the details just in a while, but I just want to show you that if you want to read about the drivers, that what they are, how will I get that, and if you want to read some information, you can just go over to this part and see that if you fail the run, that what is the error and why is it giving you the error. Fine. Now talking about the Chrome, how to get the exe. So go back to the official website of Selenium, and over here, if you scroll down on the downloads page, you will get a section of browsers. Now in this section, you will be getting the exes of all the browsers that you want. Talking about Chrome, over here, just go to this documentation and the downloads. Okay. Now before downloading any of the exes from here, you just need to know that which particular version of Chrome you are using. And yet you can check from here. Just go to help and about Chrome. And this is the version that I have got, 84.0. So if I have to get the exe for my system, then I will be getting this one. The recent one that has just came, I'll be getting the exe. Fine. If I'll click on this link, it will download a zip file. The exe is inside that zip file. What you need to do is, you just need to extract that exe and keep it in your any folder which you find that it's good, and you can keep it there. Like I have kept in local drive, and I have made a specific folder of web drivers. Fine, so over here, after downloading that zip file for Chrome, I extracted the exe and it's lying over here. Fine. So now, what you have to do while you want to open the browser, you have to do some of the steps. And which those steps are, you'll take a variable path. You can take this variable or you can directly also give this. Over here in this variable, I will be giving the path of this Chrome driver. / Chrome driver dot exe. You can replace the slashes with double backward slash or a single forward slash. That's totally up to your wish. And then you need to specify that you are going to open up a browser instance. Which one? The Chrome. And to this particular command, you need to pass on the parameter path. Sorry, not this way. There is a predefined variable executable path, and you need to pass the path to this variable. If you'll do this way in your system, your browser will be opening, the Chrome browser will be opening fine. This will work for me as well, there is no issue. You can see. The same way I can do for the rest of the browsers as well. So now let's just talk about the Firefox browser. So for that also I'll have to do the same thing, just with little changes, different exe. So for Chrome again you have to go to the official site, and over here, just wait. For Firefox, this documentation. The exe providers have given different names to the exes of different browsers. For Firefox, it's Gecko driver. In Firefox, you just need to be careful about one thing. Over here, version does not matter that much, because very first thing over here says in the note that if your version of Firefox is above 60th version, then all the exes over here given are going to work fine. But sometimes what happens is, the recent version, like just now the version 77 has come up. So what happens in the starting, that the exe is not compatible with the new version. It takes time to do that. And if your Firefox automatically updates, then your code might get affected and your Firefox does not work with the same exe. So that is the issue over here in Firefox. But for that, you can make changes in your Firefox browser. You can just go over to the browser. I'll just will open the default browser. So over here, again you have to go to this part in the options. In the options over here, you will find a section of Firefox updates. Just go to that section, this one. Now it has updated to version 78. The new has came up, right? But whenever you are automating the Firefox browser, need to make sure that the Firefox update have a setting that it checks for the update but let you choose when you want to install them. If it automatically installs it, then in that case might be the code gets affected and if the exe and the browser are not compatible with each other. So always keep this radio button clicked. If you'll do this, it will automatically update Firefox when the new version will come up. Fine. If this is done, it will keep on telling you that new version is coming, and that's fine. Fine. Now after making the changes, you will be getting the exe, right? You need to get the exe now. So go over to the page and over here, according to your system configuration, you will need to get the zip file of the GeekoDriver exe. Whichever you have, Windows 64, 32, Linux, whichever. Once you'll click on this link, it will start downloading the zip file. Just need to extract the exe from that zip file. That's it, what you need to do. And over here, this kind of file you will be getting, the geekodriver.exe. Once it's available over here in your system, you can go back to your Eclipse and can make the changes over here. And you can change the name of the exe, GeekoDriver. And also, you need to make sure that the same exe is there of the same browser. Like if I'm giving Chrome driver, then I must be opening the Chrome browser. Not like I'm giving the exe of GeekoDriver and I am opening Chrome browser. So that you need to be careful about. I want to open Firefox. Now this is done. It will open a blank Firefox browser for me. Okay, if I'll run this, I'll close the default one which is open. In case of Mozilla, it takes some time to open up the browser instance. It takes a moment, like around 5 to 6 seconds to open that browser. So you need not to worry that your browser is not opening. It will open but with a delay. You can see yourself as well that it took some delay, but a blank Firefox browser is over here in front of me. Right. So this way, I can have my Firefox running using the Selenium command. The same I can do with Edge. For the Edge, yeah. No. No. Giving the path every time is not going to be happening every time. We are not going to do this way. We will change it. But I just wanted to inform you that in my system, remember that I have given this command webdriver.chrome. This was the only command in the starting that I have given, and my Chrome browser opened up. In every code where you are going to open any instance, this will be the only command. You need not to extend any class, you need not to make it imported from somewhere, nothing you need to do. We'll come to this once I cover two of the browsers which are left. We'll come to this, that how this is possible. Fine, so just bear with me for 5 to 10 minutes since I complete this. Then I'll tell you that what we can do for this. Fine, for this only command. Okay? Yeah. So now we are going to move further to the Edge browser. Now Edge browser is basic one. What you can do is you can just go to the official website of Selenium to get the exe for Edge. Over here. For the exe of Edge, again you need to check that which version of Edge you are using. You can check the same we have done in the rest of the browsers. By clicking on this help and about Microsoft Edge, the option will be coming. Whichever version you get there, you just need to download the exe according to that and your system configuration. Fine, this is the page from where you will be getting that. And by clicking on these links, the zip file will be coming, extract the exe, and over here I have the exe. Fine, so I just need to get the name of my exe to run this Edge browser. Okay, it will open the Chrome browser as well. It's opening the Chrome browser because I still have this command given. I have not commented it. So that's why. Or I just will run this again. So you can see that the Edge browser also opened up. It was quick and went on. Now moving further to the next one, that is the Internet Explorer. Now for Internet Explorer, we need not to be worried about the version because there is no new update in Internet Explorer that has come from so long. So what they have done is, instead of keeping it in the browsers, it's available over here in the browsers, but you can directly also get it from here, the Internet Explorer driver. According to the system configuration, you can get it. Again, the zip file will be downloaded and you need to extract the exe. But for Internet Explorer, we need to make some changes into the default browser that we have, and then only the browser is going to open. Otherwise it's going to give you an unrequired error. Like if I'll open up the Internet Explorer over here, just once the browser is loaded and opened fine, then just you need to go to the settings part, come to the first setting, that is zoom level. Now by default in some systems the zoom level is 100% by default, but if it is something else than 100, then do make sure that you change it to 100%. This is the first setting. Fine. Then after, just go to the internet options, and over here you need to make 3 changes. First, to the security tab, you need to bring this leveler over here to the lowest for every section. Like there are 4 different sections, you need to bring this leveler to the lowest, as I have already done. For restricted, I don't have option, so I can't do anything in that. And over here, this checkbox will be checked in the case. You need to uncheck this checkbox. Fine. These were the two changes over here in the security tab. Then in the advanced tab, you will find a checkbox in the security tab over here. And you need to check the checkbox allow active content to run in files on my computer. You need to check this checkbox. Fine. After that, just apply the changes and click on OK. All the changes are done, then you can move further and you can run your code to open up the Internet Explorer browser. Okay. So over here, IE, I'll save this and I'll run it. So you can see the blank Internet Explorer browser is opened. It's giving some of the information like protected mode is turned off and restricted site zones. So you can say don't show this message again if you want to automate the browser. Otherwise, it's up to your wish. Fine. Now over here, 4 of my browsers we have seen that they are working fine this way. But there are 2 things over here. First of all, I am not going to write it this way, webdriver.ie all the time. So I need to have a reference to this object that we have created. Fine. So we will have an object. You can name it anything. I'll name it as driver. And using this variable only, I'll be running the rest of the commands. Fine. First, this is the thing. Second, coming to your question that do we have to do this again and again? So no, you don't need to do this ever again once you have done this. You just need to do one thing. Add up all these exes that you have downloaded into your system variables. That's it, what you need to do. How you can add these into your system variables? Just go over here and look for environment variables. Just wait. Environment variables. Over here in the system variables, go to path, edit it, and over here just give the path of the exes. Like I have kept it in a folder, so I can give the whole path of the folder and my all the exes will be kept along. If you have it on different locations, just pick the path and add it over here. That's what you need to do. I already have it over here. That's why my Chrome was running without giving the path, the executable path equals to path thing. Fine. After you have added the exes, click on OK, OK and OK. Fine. Then just go to your code where you have written all the things and try to run the code without giving the path. Fine. Let's say I'll just open the Internet Explorer browser. Fine, without the path, without any executable path parameter being given. Nothing I'm going to give. So I'll run this. And again another Internet Explorer browser opened up. There are 2 browsers that are open. In your case, if you have not added these exes into the system variables and you are doing it for the first time, the code may not run and you may get the error which is over here. You might get this error. I'll just show you the error as well. This is the error that you may get. Executable needs to be in the path. For this, to get over this error, what you need to do is you just need to give your system a restart. to apply the changes that you have done in the system variables by adding those exes. Once your system has restarted, just go and try to run your code again. That's it, and your code will run fine. The exes will be adapted in the environment the system variables, and without giving these statements, these big statements, this only statement will work for all the browsers. Okay, need not to do anything. Okay, any doubts, any questions? If you get any doubt, any question, the solution I have given you, if after adding the system variables, just restart your system. This will work fine. In any case, it does not work fine, then I'll tell you that what's the another solution. Fine. But it's going to work 99% fine. Fine. Now, I just not need to open up a blank browser. I also need to get to some URL, right? I need to get to some website. So, how will I be able to do that? Just, I'll say driver dot get and any of the URL name. I can give any URL over here. Like I'll say HTTPS, let's say google.com. So I'll save this and I'll run it. You see, by that single get command, I can route to any URL that I want on any browser. That's why they are the generic functions, can be fired on any browser. Okay. Now there is one more question that comes up in mind, that if I have to run the same script on different browsers, then do I have to repeat the script? That question comes up, like if I want to do this thing, then do I have to do this for Chrome, for Firefox, for Edge? So no, you need not to do that. You can have if-else condition over here, like you can have if, or you can have a variable in which you will pass on the browser name. You can have it anything, and you will compare it. If browser name is equals to Chrome, then what needs to be done? I need to open up the Chrome browser. So I'll say driver equals to WebDriver dot Chrome. If I'm checking for another URL, another browser, then I can have browser name equals to Firefox. Then I need to open the Firefox browser dot Firefox, and the same way I can have for the Internet Explorer and Edge as well. To run the script, I have not given the script till now. I am just opening the browser. So to avoid any unnecessary error like the driver is not defined or some another error, you can keep it in the try catch block, and you can say if my browser name is not equals to null, it's not equals to blank, then perform the action driver.getURL, whichever you want to. Otherwise, it's going to throw an unrequired error that the driver is not defined. That's it, what you do. In any case, some exception occurs, then we have the except block to catch that exception. And whatever error will be coming from the stack trace, that will be captured in this E variable, and I can simply print this E to see the stack trace error. Fine. So now if I want to run this particular script on any of the browser, let's say Firefox, then I'll just will run this. It will look that if the browser is not blank, then it will go to the command, otherwise it will come to this except block. Fine. Just wait, it takes some time, as I told earlier. Over here my browser has opened. And it will take me to the URL that I specified. Fine. So this is how you can manage the same script if you want to run on multiple browsers. Also the EXEs you can manage, open up any browser that you want. Except for these 4 browsers, Chrome, Firefox, Edge and Internet Explorer, there are 2 browsers also mentioned over here on the official website. The Safari and Chrome browser. Sorry, the Safari and Opera browser. These 2. Now we do not, these 2 browsers are actually not that stable because some of the commands don't work fine on these 2 browsers. So we refrain ourselves from using these 2 browsers. For automation of any of the URL, the 4 main browsers are working fine and you can test anything on them. So we don't use these 2 browsers because of the instability. Fine. This was all that I had to cover today. If you have any doubts, any questions, you may come up and ask. Okay, so in case it's fine, then I would request you to please do this practice. Get yourself the EXEs of the different browsers and try to add them into system variables and run the code. But before downloading the EXEs, I will just suggest you to run the code just like this. Fine, don't give any of the EXE, no executable path. When you will run it, you will see the error yourself and then you will understand that what error will be coming up and what solution you have to it. Fine. Again, you will do this way after adding in the system variables. If you get the error, you know what the solution is. Fine. So do this and I'll see you in the next class. Till the time, do practice and thank you. Yeah.